This is every single train in Transport Fever 2, all 89 of them, including the 2 new DLC trains. These trains are from all vehicle sets, the Asian, European and American trains, which we're racing today all against each other. So I've designed a racetrack that's 7.5 kilometers long. Yes, this is all tracks. This is so trippy to see. And we're going to find out what the fastest, what the most powerful, and what trains you should use in your saves are. All of these train listings are in order of when they are unlocked in the game, their build date. The only exception, of course, is the 2 DLC trains, which I've put on the end here. And importantly as well, we're going to find out which trains are best for certain circumstances within your games. Finding out which one has the most acceleration, the most power, and the highest top speeds. And for this reason, we're going to be doing 2 races today. One which is just a straight up race, and 2 with some extra weight behind the train. So stick around right to the end of the video to find out the results. But more of that in a second. Right now, I want you to place your bets on the train. No cheating. Leave a comment right now with which train you think will win. And without further ado, let's begin the race in 3, 2, 1, and they're off. Away we go. So straight away, we got the Euroduel pulling ahead. Lots and lots of acceleration, closely followed by the BR103. But I think what's going to happen here, the BR103 is going to have a higher top speed, whereas the Euroduel is going to reach its top speed fast and cap out. It already has, look, 160 kilometers an hour. That train is now going to get stuck behind other trains because it can't get any faster. We got the HHP here as well. This HHP again, more higher top speed than the Euroduel, but it has slower acceleration. So these are the contenders for first, second and third place so far. After that, we've got a few other singular trains such as the BR185 and the EMD AEM7, which are now accelerating past this point and reaching those higher top speeds. The Euroduel beaten by this train, the AED, and the BR103 ahead in first place, as expected. We could probably expect that the steam trains are going to be a bit further back, but you might be surprised actually on some of the electric and diesel trains and their positions within the race. And these are trains with sort of medium to high top speeds, but with good acceleration. That's why these guys are at the front right now. And then just behind that, some of the diesel trains. And then we've got the Hushey, one of the most modern trains in Transport Fever 2, unlocking in 2016. Of course, just after that is the Euroduel, which is over here. And then after that, the most modern one is the Speed Dance Express, just here, 2022. But let's take a look at this pack here, because we've got some interesting stuff going on. So we can actually see some steam trains are doing some interesting things. The beginning of the race, we've got good acceleration from the Mallard, or the A4. We've also got some from the P36 Russian Express locomotive, as well as the Flying Scotsman. And then a little bit further back, we've also got the Russian Class SU, the Russian Class S, and the China Railways RM. And with this good acceleration, these vehicles are the ones to choose if you go in sort of short distance with your trains. Also, a lot of these trains, we'll see in a minute when I put some more load on these trains afterwards, are actually the ones that carry a good load but still have good acceleration and power. We've seen some of these early electric trains lagging behind. Not too good, these early electric trains. Not the best acceleration, not the best top speed at all. You might be, in a lot of circumstances, better off using a steam train. We can also start to see some of our more multiple unit trains now overtaking these diesel singulars and electric singular trains as they're now reaching their higher top speeds. These are trains that don't have the best acceleration in the world, but they're really good for cross-country services long distance, just like the Hiawatha. And just past the finish line, of course, is the BR103. This is the fastest train in Transport Fever 2. Following that, the HHP and the EMD AEM7, then of course the Hushey. And next, something interesting happens. We have trains that pull in at similar sort of times, very sort of samey times, for the load we've currently got, which a lot of these trains, remember, are just the locomotive. There's no load. So this is going to prove something interesting in a second when I put a load on this. But we've got a lot of trains with a similar sort of speed. The TGV Standard and the TGV Atlantic, very, very slightly different in speed. Of course, the Atlantique design is very slightly more modern, so that's potentially why it's a little bit ahead, but very, very similar, not that much difference at all. Then the original Speed Dance Express, the SS9C and the ICE trains, and the Euroduel, a similar sort of arrival time into this finish line. Not too far behind, actually, we've got the original Bullet train. This design, of course, based off a Boeing aircraft. You can definitely see the inspiration there. Let's have a little peek further back in the pack of trains and find some exceptions. I think the Intercity 125 is actually interesting because we're quite far back. This is like significantly further back in the pack. We're going about 180 kilometers an hour, which is not particularly fast for this sort of high-speed train. And this is obviously because in the UK all of our tracks are twisty and turny and we can't get full speed at this sort of straight amount of track for so long. So it's still accelerating though, that's worth noting. Then we've got some of the really old electric locomotives. I am not surprised. Already being beaten actually by some of the steam locomotives. We've got the A4 Mallard here, of course, and the Hiawatha. Both of these are your cross-country early game steam trains. And obviously, because I've set 2 finish lines, one for early game and one for late game, as we've already got our winner for the whole game, I think we also should get one for the early game. And of course, the early game train is going to be the Hiawatha, which is going to be the fastest train that you want to use for your cross-country services. And cross-country means a train that crosses the whole map, as opposed to your commuter trains, which only go town to town, stopping at every place. And your intercity is a little bit more complex, but that's like a bit of both. Just followed by this, again at a similar sort of time, we got the China Railways DF48, the General Electric C40, and the ED9M arriving at pretty much the exact same time there without a load on board. I think that's interesting to note. Then we're starting to get some more of these trains designed for more heavy duty tasks. So we've actually got the big boy just arriving here. And this is obviously a train meant for carrying lots of heavy stuff. Then followed by, this is the earliest train so far that's arrived, the Russian Class S, a good top speed on there, even faster than the Silver Streak Pioneer Zephyr that's now pulling in. That's interesting. And then we're starting to see the EMD GP9, which is just pulling in. Look how many steam trains have arrived before the EMD GP9. That's really interesting to note. And this is a clear example of why you need to know your trains in this game, which is why you should probably also check out this video. Because actually a lot of these trains you can get for a lot cheaper and get better power and performance by using an older train. Remember, in this game you might get new vehicles unlocked, but that doesn't mean you should use them. There's better trains that are older, such as the Class S versus the GP9, for speed at least. We're about to do weight and power in a second. Now we're starting to see some of the more intercity trains arrive, which are sort of intermediate between the cross-country and commuter trains, and very soon we'll start to see some more commuter type setups coming in. I think this kind of marks the end of intercity. Now we're getting some of the more commuter types. We've got this European BR100. The rail bus is definitely commuter that's coming in. Then we've got, this is another definite commuter tank engine, the BR75. Bad. This is interesting. I don't believe this is a commuter type train. This is more of a cargo specific train, I think. This is not really a passenger locomotive, just because of the amount of trains that have pulled in before of it. First of all, it's got a lot of power but not a very good top speed at all. 85 kilometers an hour is very terrible. So that's why I would keep this train specifically for cargo needs, because it's got a lot of power but it just doesn't have those top speeds that you need for the passenger services. And then look in details, we've got a train here from the 1980s, the DF5, but you compare that to a train all the way back from over here. Let's see, we got this train here, which is the China Railways JF1. Let's see, the build date here for the JF1 is 1918. That's 60 years older, and yet this train is beating this new 1980s locomotive. But also thinking about that, we've also got all these trains which are significantly older as well, which have beaten it by quite a lot. The 10 wheels actually unlocking in 1896, which has significantly beaten this train from the 1980s. The DF5, not a good choice. Only if you're doing connections sort of to a mine directly to a hub, for example, or very, very short distance, but you want some sort of slight acceleration in the beginning. Again though, I probably wouldn't use this train. I would probably stay away from this train because there's just better options out there. Like I say, again, sometimes the older trains do a better job and they're much cheaper. And here we have some more trains arriving. This could potentially class as a passenger train, but again, it just doesn't have those top speeds. It's 80 kilometers an hour. If anything, this is kind of like a direct downgrade from this one we were just looking at here, the Russian Class FD. They're pretty much exactly the same train, just one is like a direct downgrade that unlocks earlier before this one. I may be tempted maybe to put this on a passenger service, but there's just so many better options you can see here that does exactly the same job but better for light trains like passenger services. We're not talking cargo obviously because they're very heavy. We'll have a look in a second again at this. The Mikado arriving at exactly the same time as this diesel train, the Alco HH600. I think that's interesting to note. I can imagine the Mikado costs a bit more though, because it's quite a bit more of a bigger train. The diesel Alco HH600 being the first diesel you actually unlock in this game, of course costing 273,000. You compare that down to the Mikado, which is costing 713,000. Now that's quite a lot more. However, of course, the Mikado has more ability to carry more weight. If you're going for just speed, specifically passenger services, and remember passenger services don't carry much weight because the cars aren't that heavy compared to cargo, which carries a lot of weight, maybe want to choose this train here, the Alco HH for passenger. Here's an example of early electric not being too good. The Crocodile pulling in very, very late into the finish line. Barely any trains left to pull in to the finish line. And this guy right at the back of the pack, of course, doesn't have a too big of a top speed at 75 kilometers an hour. Not great. Pretty bad acceleration as well, but it does have good power. What that means is if you put a massive load on this train, it's going to perform pretty much the exact same as it did without a load. It's got good power, just not good acceleration or top speed. And now we've reached the very early game, the absolute beginning of where you might start out. We've got all of these trains way back here, way back here, like not even halfway yet. That's a long way to go. And pay attention to this bit because this is a really important bit. These are the vehicles that you're going to be wanting to choose specifically in the early game when it really matters, when you haven't got a lot of money and you want the best performance out possible. So after the 260 that's pulling in, we've then got the Russian class PV, which is pulling in. So these are your options for American and Asian locomotives. Me personally, I always select all vehicles when I make a save because I like having more variety. I don't like being stuck in one like geographical vehicle set. So I just do all of them, and I recommend you guys do that too. But actually after that, it looks like we're getting some more locomotives pulling in. The Russian class OB, as well as the PLM 220. This is a European train, our first European train to arrive at the finish line for the early game. Then another American train pulling in, the 280 class 56. That means there's now 2 American trains and 2 Asian trains at the finish line, but only 1 European train. And the trains after that, again, are Asian type vehicles. The next European train is all the way back here. There's 4 more trains to pull in before this guy. The BR53 Prius all the way at the back. So that means there's now 4 of the Asian early game locomotives at the finish line. 2 American trains and 1 European. I think that says something. If you're going for efficiency, choose the Asian vehicle set. Or even better, just select all vehicles. And another Asian vehicle just before the Class 53 Prius is arriving. Then we got the hill climbing train, the Fairley. This is to be expected. This is a train with a lot of power, but it doesn't have a high top speed. And that makes sense because this is a type of train that's designed to climb up a hill, which a lot of these trains would not be able to do. Maybe one day we'll do another train race, which is up a direct incline. And I reckon the Fairley would do a good job of that. Then the General pulling in. After that, the Borsig, which is our next European type train pulling in. You'll notice a pattern. A lot of these trains are Asian type. Then there's kind of a medium ground where there's a lot of Americans. There's a few Americans. And then we're getting very few European trains pulling in. I think in general, there's just more types of trains in the Asian set compared to the European set for early game locomotives. Then the Class V. So this is actually our first train which unlocks at the beginning of the game. So this is an 1850s train. So if you're going for just speed in the 1850s, and say you've got all vehicle types unlocked, so that would mean that you have the Class V unlocked, you have the 6 wheels unlocked, as well as the D13 unlocked. So that would give you all of these 3 trains in the early game. If you're going just for speed, so that will be passenger trains I'm expecting, that will be your Class V. But if we look way back here at the other 2 trains, ignore this one here, that would give us the 6 wheels and it would give us the D13. We'll come back to this in our second race where we find out which one of these trains actually is able to carry more weight for a freight service, and it might actually surprise you. It's not going to be the Class V, I guarantee. And what's interesting, we've got this sort of shunter type train here, the BR89 Prius. This train, all the way at the back with the 6 wheels. Is it really worth getting this train compared to the 6 wheels? Well, let's have a little look at the power rating, shall we? I believe there's not going to be that much of an upgrade actually. So these are the stats. I suppose that while they do have the same sort of speed, the Prius does have a lot more power, so you can do more weight on these trains. But that concludes the race. So that means the fastest train, of course, the BR103, the fastest train in sort of the early game steam age, the Hiawatha, and the slowest train in Transport Fever 2 is the D13. But don't go anywhere, because if you actually want to apply this to your game, which you should, you need to learn which trains can carry the most amount of weight and still get those high top speeds. So now let's switch over to the second race, where all of these vehicles are going to have the same weight added to the backs of them, and we're going to see if the results change, and I guarantee they will. And here we are, the exact same again, but with a load. Every train now has 10 of the heaviest, most modern train cars available. Look at that, that's such a weird view. Bet you've never seen that before. We don't have to dilly or dally, we can get straight into this in 3, 2, 1, and away they go from the finish line. A lot slower of a start for a lot of these trains, but 400,000 kilograms is a lot of weight. So yeah, we got a few outliers. First of all, again the Eurodual pulling straight ahead, but not by a significant margin like it was last time, which is interesting. Oh my god, watch out Bear, this train's coming. Run, dude, run. So again, we're getting a lot of these electric singular units taking the lead in the beginning of the race. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely expected this to be the case. These guys have a lot of power, a lot of acceleration, but they just don't have those top speeds. Can the BR103 beat the Euroduel? I reckon it probably will. Euroduel going 140, almost at its top speed. We're slowly catching up in this BR103. We're also starting to see this China Railways HXD3B starting to lag behind. This is a train that wasn't as far ahead initially in the race without weight, but also we're starting to see this Russian Railways or Soviet Union class VL805, which is now speeding up very slightly and getting to a place. But actually, now we look at it, it's actually reached its top speed. It was speeding up and it was gaining on the Euroduel, but it's now hit its top speed and it's now lagging behind. Another Soviet train, the Russian CHS4, actually has the higher top speed but lower acceleration, so it wasn't winning initially, but now it's beating this other train and it's accelerating. Can this do some damage against the other trains? Something really interesting, the Fushim, which is a multiple unit train, of course. A train that's specifically designed to have a specific amount of weight being carried, plus an extra 400,000 kilograms on that now. You would have thought, well, it's going to be lagging behind. It's not. It's doing just fine. It's actually near the front of the pack. That's quite surprising, that. So maybe the Fushim is kind of an unrated choice. It's still accelerating as well. Then we've got the HHP, which is going a similar sort of speed. However, I believe the Fushim probably going to beat this because it's going to hit its top speed at some point. I'm guessing about now. Top speed of 200. So yeah, it's just hit its top speed pretty much. So the Fushim probably going to overtake this train at some point. It'll slowly start to gain on this train and overtake. The Euroduel just being beaten now by the HHP. That's a surprise. So we've now got that in second place. The BR103 is just miles ahead. There's just nothing to say about that. It's just miles ahead. This is the best train in the game, hands down. It's incredible. Not for commuter type though. Only for cross country, I reckon, for this train. But it's a really good train. Definitely the best in the game. I'll explain more about that in the end. Then we got a HHP, Fushim and Euroduel in our next places to pull into the station. Really interesting. Here's the lineup so far. We've also got these guys pulling in. Just after that, the TGV. Then the China Railways, SS9, the ICE, the AEM7, the Bullet Train, the original. And this is what the arrival looks like for the late game. Next arriving is the Alco train. Now this is one with the extra power car on board, the Alco PA. So we've got two different types of locos here. This is actually a locomotive, but it's just unmanned and it's hooked up to this so they get double power. That's how it used to be done. It used to be modular, so you could put as many as these cars behind it as you want to get the extra power needed. But then eventually they just started making trains like this, and then this train just has a lot more power anyway, so these guys went bust basically, and they never needed these again, and that's how the industry evolved. Got a few late game trains just arriving late to the party at the finish line at the same time as some of these early game steam trains. We've got the big boy pulling in. I'm not surprised at all why that one came in first for the steam train branch. And then we also have an early game winner as well, which is going to be the EP2. And this is the first electric train that you unlock in Transport Fever 2. Then another strong contender for the cross country. Like I say, the Hiawatha is doing a really good job. It's pulling in. Even with this heavy weight, it's unfazed. High top speed and heavy power. Good stuff there. Just the acceleration lacking. Same for the Mallard A4 train here. Both of these locomotives have good power. They have good top speed, but they don't have that good acceleration that's needed for commuter or intercity. So definitely use these two trains as cross-country type trains, aka trains that cover the whole map. Now speaking of our Alco type locomotive with the additional power car, here comes the other train behind it without the extra power car. So there's your difference in power basically. However, it is half price as well. You've got to bear that in mind. Is it really worth paying double for extra speed? That's up to you to decide on your saves. Then we've got the Flying Scotsman, let's be honest. Pretty much a basic downgrade from the Hiawatha and the Mallard. It just unlocks a bit earlier, so that's why you might want to use that. After this, the Class 9000, and after that, the A4/7. Not the best trains in the world, but they got good power in the early game. These are the earliest ones that have arrived so far, so this is sort of early game power. If you want to do your big cargo trains that are connecting your sorting hubs and distribution hubs together. Let's have a little look further forward. All of our late game trains have arrived at this point. We'll do a time lapse in just a sec where we cover what order everything arrived in. Then the GP9 arriving. A little bit slow, that one actually. Same thing with the Class TE3 compared to the Alco. Just 2 power units is just going to do a better job at doing more acceleration. Well, it's got double the amount of power as well, so that's going to affect your acceleration. Obviously they've got the same top speed though. As expected here, the China Railways RM, a train that's pretty late on into the building process of locomotives. I mean, there's not really steam trains being made around this time. It's the last one you can get. Again, as expected, definitely a cargo train because it's pretty good at pulling stuff, but there's just better options available, to be fair. There's trains that arrived way before this that do the exact same job, just better. So it's worth noting. And then we're starting to see some of the really early trains now arriving into the station. We've got this train, which is quite late, actually. This train, the Russian Class L, I thought this was going to be pretty decent. But actually, as it turns out, it's still pretty far behind in the pack. Although, you will note that I did make a comparison between this train and the basic downgrade version. I have no idea where the basic downgrade version is. It's somewhere way back here, probably. And as expected, yes, this is literally a basic downgrade, like, directly. We've got these two trains that we were mentioning just a second ago, which are basically exactly the same, just one's slightly better. Then, our first, like, pretty early game, this is like 1920 sort of era stuff, trains are rolling in. The A35 and the Class S, the first really early game trains to pull in. This train is very old. This is from all the way back in the year 1900, this one is first produced. And a little known fact with this train, the A35, you select this train, and then on colour, set the second to last underneath custom colours of grey, and add that, then modify, you get this really cool, like, perfectly coloured train. It looks way better than the other version. Just thought I'd let you know. I'll probably do a video at some point if people want to see different colour patterns and how you get the best looking locomotives in rolling stock. Let me know if that's something that interests you. But then we got the Crocodile and the Mikado pulling in. Honestly, probably go for the Mikado out of those two, I would have reckoned. The 442 Atlantic is kind of an enigma, that one. That's probably an intercity train type, just because it's kind of a bit of everything. It's not really fast, it's not really slow, it's not really good at power, it's not really bad at power, it's just kind of in the middle. So probably that one for intercity type. Interesting of note here, the Russian Class YE, the exact same as the BR-75 badge train, pretty much, exactly in terms of power, reaching the finish line. So maybe don't use this one for your cargo trains, because you can get a cheaper alternative right next to it. And here come the rest of the stragglers. There's definitely a massive difference between racing without a load and racing with a load in terms of how spread apart things are. I mean, the spread is absolutely huge for this. There's ones that haven't even made it a third through the race, and there's ones that have been here like 5 minutes now. It's crazy to think. Now, these type trains are to be expected, I'm not going to lie. The Class SEH here, pulling in slightly before the HH600, could be a better choice potentially. Then the Silver Streak pulling in. This is actually really, really low power, this train. I was expecting more out of this. So I don't know, it's just in this sort of weird valley, this one. It's like almost an intercity train, but not quite. And it's like, yeah, if you had no other option, then maybe you'd use it across country, but you just have better options. Like the Hiawatha was here so long ago, and so was the Mallard A4. You might as well just use those. So don't be using the Silver Streak as a cross-country locomotive. So, and we got some more sort of medium trains here that are battling it out. Very, very slightly faster here. We've got the 260 Mogul, but they're pretty much all the same. These are actually interesting because all of these are different sets. This one is Asian, then we got European, and this is American. Pretty much exactly the same on those fronts. Then we got another Asian option, the American equivalent of that, which is slightly far behind. Another Asian option. Then we got the hill climbing train. I kind of expected this, to be honest. It's just not its purpose to do what we're doing here. This train is literally designed to go up hills. There's no other reason you should be using this train at all, unless you physically have to. And we got a few more further at the pack. Really impressed on this one. This is the M300. Very, very impressive. Did not expect it to be this far ahead compared to its counterparts. It's literally just a standalone locomotive designed to only carry this amount of weight, but we've added 400,000 kilograms and it's doing just fine compared to these steam trains, which these guys are literally specifically designed to carry more cars, because obviously you can't carry passengers on just a locomotive by itself. So really impressed with that one. Because obviously this is the American rail bus. I think the European rail bus, you might expect it to be similar, but no. The European rail bus, way at the back, nearly as bad as the 1850 starter locomotives over here. Really not too powered at all. Definitely a locomotive only powered to power the locomotive weight and nothing else. So only use the rail bus really if you're just doing it rail bus with no cars behind. The BR89 Prius, or Prius, however you want to pronounce it, it's very slightly better off. Now we've got these extra bits of weight. It was doing pretty much exactly the same as the starter locomotives at the beginning, aka these guys. So it's a little bit further forward, but just because these guys are so bad, it makes the other train look good, I think. So it's probably not one that I'd actually choose, but it's interesting. And then the Class T, which is the second train you unlock in the Asia set. The General, the second train you unlock in the American set. And the Borsig, the second train you unlock in the European set. Let's speed it up a little bit because these guys are going so slow. So 4 times speed right now. This is the 6 wheels, which is doing the best job at carrying all this weight so far. It's actually accelerating away from the D13 here. I guess the D13 is really struggling. 26 kilometers an hour, really slow stuff. And right at the back, is the Class V with only 24 kilometers an hour with all of that weight on board. And if you remember, this is the fastest train for light sort of carriages. So if you have a couple of passenger cars for this train compared to these guys, where you might have a couple of passenger cars, you're probably going to get better performance out of the Class V passenger services. But as we can see here, the 6 wheels, definitely the strongest if you're doing sort of heavier trains in the early game, right when you start off. This is the fastest by far, by a lot actually, doing cargo or heavy routes. And then you've got sort of your medium ground train, your D13, which is kind of good at both. But all we need to remember really is the one that can pull the most amount of cargo the fastest, and the one that can go the fastest with little cargo. And that will make it the last locomotive to arrive, the Class V, into the final finish line. And here's all of the trains now at the finish line. Okay, now we've just seen that time lapse. Let's compare that now to the original time lapse in the video and see what we can learn from both races, side by side comparison. Make sure to save this video and re-watch it when you're buying trains in your save, so you can find out what the best trains are for you to buy. So while the time lapse is playing, let me explain the guaranteed best way of doing cargo and passengers and the types of different trains that exist in Transport Fever 2. And this is all backed up by real life evidence and what the devs have said as well. Let's talk cargo first of all. So in Transport Fever 2 and Transport Fever 3, the best way to do cargo is not point to point. It's not get a train, take it somewhere, go back, empty, fill it up, go back and repeat. No, that is not the best way of doing it. The best way is to get lots of little trains to deliver to one hub on the map. And then in this map, you'll also have several other hubs. You might have a north, a south, and a distribution hub in the middle. So obviously when you're in the early game, you'll buy your best train, put it on the main line. Then when that gets retired, that can then switch over to these other like lower tier routes when you get these better trains unlocked that will replace them. So these sort of cheaper to maintain and lower tier trains are going to shunt cargo from one industry, say for example a quarry, which is going to bring stone, that's going to shunt that stuff to the sorting yard. And all of these industries, so sort of stone, oil, whatever is in that area is going to come to that sorting yard. And then one huge train is going to take all of that stuff to the distribution hub just outside your capital city. So for your long distance heavy cargo trains, you're going to want a train taken from this video probably of one that can carry a lot of cargo, a lot of weight, so it needs a lot of power, and it also needs a high top speed because it's going to be crossing all of the map pretty much, or at least half of the map. And this type of train is going to carry every type of cargo. The devs even backed this up. They said that cargo hubs are really, really important to do for players who want to maximize the sort of efficiency of their setups. Let's talk passenger real quick as well. So there's 3 types of passenger trains in Transport Fever 2. Let's just keep it simple with commuter, intercity and cross country. So your commuter trains are a train that will stop at every single station, and it has sort of a slow line that goes and weaves through all these stations. Let's talk cross country then. So your cross country train is a train that will travel the whole map and rarely stop. And this is your really sort of high-end tier stuff. So your electric multiple units, your Speedance Express, your TGVs, your Fushim House, all of those really fast trains. And if we're talking early game as well, maybe your Hiawatha for those sort of services, or your A4 Mallard. Trains that take a long time to accelerate to top speed, but have insanely high top speeds, and they're definitely worth doing if you're crossing the map in this fashion. And then also you have Intercity, and Intercity doesn't unlock until the second half of the game really. You've obviously got your commuter and your cross country at the start of the game, but then in the middle sort of tier of the game, towards the end of the late tier, you also get the Intercity tier unlocked, and basically the cross country and the commuter trains throughout the entire game are going to have their own separate tracks, and they never sort of cross one another. That you wouldn't get a commuter train running on your cross country tracks because it's going to slow your fast trains down. So they always stay separate. However, your intercity trains, because they're kind of a bit of both, they can go fast and they have got good acceleration typically. You can actually double up. You don't want to build a dedicated intercity track, but you do want to have your intercity trains run in such a way where you can still run express intercity services on your commuter tracks by borrowing commuter tracks for some of it and also borrowing your cross-country tracks for some of it. So it's kind of like a sort of half and half situation for your intercity tracks. And I understand that this is really difficult to like kind of wrap your head around at first, but I promise it's really easy. And that's why you need to watch this video that shows you exactly how it works. This will blow your mind. You really need to watch this for the best efficiency, so check it out right now.